Hi, my name's Ellie Copp. I'm Chief Revenue Officer for Pracedo, and we are a Salesforce implementation partner.
I'm Tom Bassett. I am a solutions architect, and I'm relatively involved in the Salesforce community as well as an expert author for Salesforce Ben, an ambassador for the Salesforce forums. I help with some review of super badges and exams, and also help to run other Salesforce events, including the London Architect Community Group.
Hey, my name is Ben McCarthy. I'm founder of Salesforce Ben. I've got 12 years experience in the Salesforce ecosystem now. I'm a Salesforce MVP and I've worked across a bunch of different roles. I've worked as an admin for an end user. I worked for a ISV, an app exchange company, Conga, many years ago. I ran a consultancy and now I run Salesforce Ben full time.
So I got into Salesforce over a decade ago. I was actually a customer of Salesforce originally, so I worked at Burberry and we needed a new service tool that would transform our customer service team. So at the time we had 5 teams globally and we needed to roll out Service Cloud across about 250 users across our global locations, so lots of moving parts. And I was part of the project team, so taking all of the requirements from the business and then implementing Service Cloud. And then when that project wrapped up, a good friend of mine started a consultancy. So I went over into the consultancy space and I've been working in that side of things for 8 years, I think.
How did you start your career as a Salesforce admin?
Okay, so I started out as a Salesforce admin for Samaritans, which is a charity based in the UK, focusing on mental health and specifically with a goal of reducing the number of people that die by suicide. I was working for Samaritans already, and there was an internal promotion opportunity that came up, which involved Salesforce admin amongst other things. So that's really how I got started in my Salesforce career, kind of a little bit by accident, I suppose.
How did you start your career as a Salesforce admin?
So when I left university, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. I was just applying to generic IT graduate jobs and I managed to land myself an IT graduate job, but I had no idea what I was going to be doing. And I got the role and started the role, and in the first day I started to learn about what Salesforce was, cloud computing was, and fell in love with it straight away because I wasn't a developer, I couldn't code, so I did kind of wonder where my place would be in the IT world, and then I found a solution like Salesforce which had clicks not code, and I could actually utilize a lot of my knowledge of databases and relational databases and business processes, and I could actually build something there and then using Salesforce tools. So that's how I got into Salesforce.
Can you share your experience in specialising within the Salesforce ecosystem?
So I think it's really important to specialise in certain things within Salesforce. It's such a vast platform. You can choose to specialise in products, you can choose to specialise in industry, you can choose to specialise in both. You can't put all your eggs in one basket if you're going to be a true implementation partner, but I think it's really important for you to lay your hat at one or two areas that you're really going to delve into. It's really easy to be a generalist but only know the top layer of Salesforce. And I think if you're going to really succeed in the ecosystem, you need to go nice and deep on a couple of products. And ideally, for kind of where we are as a company, so at Pracedo, we've chosen to also specialise in certain areas and certain industries so that we can apply the deep product knowledge to deep technical questions that happen within those industries.
And were there any specific experiences that you found particularly helpful at the beginning of your journey?
I think at the beginning it was a steep learning curve to kind of embrace the Salesforce admin best practices and learn how to manage the system, how to deal with kind of different types of requests, perhaps prioritizing those requests. But I think one of the things that I'm really grateful that I did was every Tuesday, I think it was every Tuesday afternoon, I kind of carved out some time and blocked some time specifically for Trailhead. I used to call it Trailhead Tuesdays. And that helped me to ensure that I carried on learning while I was working on different things within the system as well. And dependent on what I was doing, I would perhaps tailor my Trailhead content to flow or whatever I was working on particularly, just so I could master it.
Were there any specific skills or experiences that you found particularly helpful at the beginning of your journey?
I think in terms of experiences, I mean skills, you know, don't know if there's any point in going to the skills of workflow rules and stuff like that, because Salesforce was so vastly different 12 years ago. In terms of experiences though, I think just diving in head first to anything. You know, if I got approached, I remember getting approached by my boss at the time to sort out the invoicing and finance process in their company. And the CTO just kind of got up on a whiteboard and started drawing all these processes for finance in the company. I had no idea what was going on. I was just kind of nodding along to everything he said. But you know, I got exposed to that, and I did actually pick some stuff up, even if at the time I was a bit overwhelmed. I remember throwing myself into a CPQ project, to a financial force project, building a custom resourcing tool on Salesforce where I needed to get some budget to engage a developer, use an outsourced agency, which was really cool. So yeah, I think just throwing yourself in, saying yes to everything, you know, especially when you're at the start of your career, I think that's so important. You know, if you're at the start of your career or you're just kind of fresh into Salesforce, you probably don't know a lot about business processes depending on your background. So I think throwing yourself into every part of a company and all the opportunities that present itself. I think secondly, you have to not be afraid of making mistakes, because if you are, you probably won't throw yourself into those opportunities. And making mistakes is where you learn. You know, if you're smart, you make those mistakes. It's embarrassing. It's kind of annoying, but you learn from it, you grow, and you don't make those same mistakes in the future. So, you know, I can remember working as an admin and not really asking the right questions at all when I was gathering requirements for this resourcing project on Salesforce. And something came to bite me back later down the line, and you know, I was trying to blame the person who was giving me the requirements, but actually, you know, I wasn't thorough enough in my questions to kind of build a full solution. So, you know, you live and you learn.
What steps did you take to deepen your Salesforce product and feature knowledge?
When I started working with Salesforce, I wasn't technical at all. So I come from a languages background. I was working in customer operations, and then kind of got to grips with Service Cloud. Had no idea that Salesforce had any of the other products that it has in its product suite, was really focused on customer service and customer operations and how transformative it was for Burberry and our customer service department. So we went from a cost center to a profit center within the first year of implementing. And that's really what piqued my interest. But you can't stand still with Salesforce. My first meeting, I went to my first sales meeting, I had no idea that they had all these other things. So I started talking about Service Cloud. Customer didn't even have Service Cloud, didn't have any service requirements. And once you start looking under the hood, it's really easy to get overwhelmed with all the different areas of the platform. So I think when it comes to deepening your technical knowledge, there's a huge amount of resources available to you. There's Trailhead, so you can self-learn with all of the resources that are provided by Salesforce. But there's also things that you can do to set up alerts and subscribe to certain content from Salesforce so that you're always keeping on top of all of the changes. I don't really have to do anything technical anymore, but I can't help myself. So I continually look at the new products, the new releases, the direction that Salesforce is going in, and make sure that as a business, we're also looking at the same direction. To make sure that we don't get left behind. And it's really important that if you're a customer of Salesforce, you do the same thing.
Could you share your experience of specialising within the ecosystem?
Yeah, so this is something I've kind of been on a bit of a personal journey on, really. I perhaps resisted the urge to specialise for quite a long time and have learned lots of different products and features within the Salesforce ecosystem, including kind of CPQ, field service, Pardot, amongst other things. I think it is important to find your niche and understand what interests you, what are you kind of most passionate about really, and kind of lean into that niche. After having been on a bit of a journey myself, I'm kind of now going back to my non-profit roots and trying to specialize in that particular industry.
Can you share any memorable projects or challenges that you faced in the consulting role?
So I got into Salesforce consulting again after I left an ISV, so I was about 4 years into my career at that point. Joined the Salesforce consultancy based in London, but it was a German company headquartered out of Berlin, and it was only an office of 3 people. But the managing director left after a few months, so it was an office of 2 people, and then I got promoted to managing director by default, kind of. Didn't come with a pay rise, just the fancy new title, which was quite cool at 25, but put a lot of pressure on me to try and grow the company. And I think at that stage, I remember signing a deal which was above 6 figures, which at the time was super cool, but insanely scary. Like I remember it kept me up for nights, and I was dreaming about this project because I had no idea how I was gonna deliver it. But it was a system that I knew. I had great support from people in the company, and eventually we pulled off the project. It had some hiccups along the way, but all projects do, and it turned out to be really, really good. So I think if you're in your Salesforce career and you are having these doubts and you've got imposter syndrome and all these things running through your head, I think you just need to understand the fundamentals. You know about Salesforce, you've probably done this kind of thing before. You might be going into unknown territory or working on a much bigger org with a much bigger client, anything like that. But I think if you have the fundamentals in place, you've got a support system around you, a mentor within the company or within your company or externally, then I think you don't need to worry so much about these things.